Well, one of my favorite things, one of the coolest things I ever accidentally came upon, is a place around here called Scott Springs. So when Robin and I first walked into this area called Scott Springs, it was kind of like we heard about this cave, and wasn't labeled yet. There were no signs, there were no walkways, there were no boardwalks. It was just a walk through the woods, and then we found this cave. Not big enough for me to crawl through. Well, maybe, but just not safe enough for me to crawl through. How about that? It wasn't like a big, gigantic cave. It was like a small cave, but big enough probably for people to crawl through. And I think people have crawled through. Anyway, it's called Scott Springs. It's got this water, and the water is not, I think it is always there, but I was told it's not always there. But every time I go, it's there. And I've seen fish there, but there's no way it connects to any body of water. So I think the water comes from the cave. So I painted it, and there it is. That's the actual cave. There's the water. And it really does have that bluish look to it, even though it looks like it would be a stagnant pond, but it's not. And there was no water in the pond when I took the photo that I used as a reference. I will tell you that this background is a little bit, I took liberties with it. I just wanted it to be prettier, because my photo wasn't quite that high. It was kind of like if I put like there, cut it off like that, like there. Yeah, I didn't really have much. I didn't do a good photo, so make up for it with a painting. Anyway, that's maybe a romanticized version of Scott Springs. And I'll show you how I painted that right now. Okay. Today I'm going to start with a pencil sketch. This is, as I probably mentioned in the beginning, a place here in Ocala called Scott Springs. And when I first found it, Robin and I found it, and we had heard about it, I guess, and it wasn't really developed yet as a place with like manicured sidewalks and boardwalks and things like that. It was just a cave and a little pond, and the little pond had fish in it. and it was like, where is it connected to? Well, this right here I'm drawing here, that's the cave. This is like the top of the ground, and then up here is where you can walk. And if you just keep going further, you end up at the local, I think it's a Walmart. Yeah, I think it's right next to Walmart. So anyway, so there's this place, and it's got a little bit of rolling hills and some trees here. This is a very rough sketch. And over here is a little platform, and you can see where kids had, I say kids. You know why I say kids? Because this is the kind of thing I would have done when I was a kid. And it's probably as kids. But they go in there and just, I guess it's cool to go into the cave, and I'm guessing drinking beer, because we saw beer cans in there, so I'm not speculating too much. And it was just fascinating because it was a actual natural body of water, like right here. You'll see in a second. I'm going to try to do my best to recreate that. And I'm going to make sure, for the sake of a painting here, I want to make sure we have some nice light happening right about there, and then shining down onto this surface here. And then all these rocks here, I want them to be lit. And yeah, there was actually fish in there. Not big, just little fish. And all right, so let's begin with the painting. So it was very cool to discover it. And then I don't know if it's because we talked about it on the radio, because we did talk about it on the radio, but other people started discovering it. I doubt that we were the first to discover it, to be honest with you. But I don't know. It seemed like more people were talking about it all of a sudden, And then the city, I think, must be the city of Ocala, started not developing it in a real sense, but making it prettier, making it more accessible with little boardwalks and things. And so it's a very natural, pretty place. And they say, once we started talking about it on the radio, people would call in and they would tell us everything, you know. So the people who were actually more familiar with it would tell us that it was the entrance to a series of caves. And that was kind of a cool thing to find out. Let's see, I just want a little bit of a light, very light orange back here. Just very light. And now I'm going to mix the warm and the cool together here. So I'll put some blue and some orange. Just melt them together a little bit. So yeah, people would call and tell us that they had been there when they were younger, that they would go spelunking in there. I love that word, spelunking. And they went there when they were kids in high school, blah, 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 blah. They would tell us all this stuff. And it was very cool. So it is a naturally inviting place to do photography, a naturally inviting place to do paintings. So that's what I'm doing. Rob and I took a bunch of photos down there some years ago. I had to dig through my photos to find them. So that's what I'm doing here. So everything up here is above the ground area. I'm just smushing it around. Smushing is a very artsy word. Smushing. You can use this soft brush and get this orange around there. Just going to try to keep that very light right now. Maybe I'll even get some yellow in there. There we go. Just smush it around like that. Let that settle there and let it dry. Whoops. That's a little bit too rich, isn't it? That's all right. Spread it out. There we go. That's what I want. Kind of a smushed look like that. All right, now while that's drying, I'm going to work on some of these areas down here. There are some areas at the bottom that are very dark, very deep. For example, right in there, that's where the cave is. The cave is very dark, very deep. It doesn't look very tall. I wouldn't want to crawl in there. I'd be getting claustrophobic, I think. Just get some of that darkness in there. And then down here under this ridge, it's got a big, dark, deep shadow under there. It's very raggedy looking because it's a rock. It's a rock. And down here there's a little, let's see, there's a little tiny hole here in the wall. And there's little areas that have a shadow. Here we go. And there's lots of little areas here. They just have some definition. But yet they're not as dark as the rest of it. And I'll come back and make the areas darker that need to be darker. I think this needs to be taller. a lot of this is. Let me just use some dirty water to find that a little bit right there. Now I want to get some of this blue, because the water has got a really beautiful blue tint to it. And I want to keep it light so that I can add some details later on. Get some of this green, blue green. It's okay if that black or that dark, whatever that is, it's okay if that bleeds in, because it's a bit of a reflective area right there. And continue with the blue-green down here. Again, let that blue and that blue-green kind of soak in with each other. Yeah, so if you're from Ocala, if you happen to be watching this video and you're from the local area, this is, I'm trying my best. If you're familiar with Scott Springs, you might recognize it when it's done. Right now you can't tell anything, but just a little bit of, it's got a little bit of blue in the middle there. And keep it kind of like that. Let me get some, what color is this? Let me see what color that is. A little bit of pink up there. Seems like there's some mold going on up there. A little reluctant to do too much of this area because of the bleeding through. I don't want that to happen too much yet. Alright, let's keep adding some details down here. This is where there needs to be lots of shadows, little shadows under the bricks. So I want the light to come here. So this is the lit area here. Right beneath this, that's going to be lit. This is going to be lit here. A lot of these areas are lit. So we want them all to have light hitting them. We keep working it. So the difference between how Scott Springs looked when we first discovered it and how it looks now is that now it looks approachable, looks safe. Back then it was felt a little bit dangerous, like you didn't know what might be there. And now I guess you can still, like if you go early in the morning, you can still see owls and some wildlife, even though it's very close to the edge of what you would call civilization. Because it's just outside I think it's actually in the city limits. So make that cave opening a little bit bigger. I want to make sure I keep that light there. It's a little bit too dark right there. Let me get some of that, move it around. here at the top, once that dries, there will be some definition as well with the trees that are up there. So that's got some light hitting it right there. That's got some light right there. This is a little bit wider than I made it. There we go. It's starting to look right. It's a little bit dark here. Add some shadow here. I've never been a spelunker. The only time I ever went into a cave, it was like Luray Caverns or something like that. I don't know if that counts. And I also went to, what was that thing called up in, I think it was Tennessee. Ruby Falls. I went to Ruby Falls. Does that count? Does that count? Am I a spelunker because I went to Ruby Falls? I don't think so. A couple of things floating in the water here. Let me just spread this out a little bit. Let the water kind of do its thing. Let me get some of this water off so it dries quicker. I'm going to start adding the trees that are on that ledge there. I think I'll try to exaggerate the color a little bit. Up here. Just a little bit of an exaggeration. That orange sort of makes it look the way it actually looks with the dirt coming through the growth, the green growth. Just a lot of rocky edges here. Okay, I think I can safely take some of this purple now and very lightly add it to some of these areas that are lit from the side, like the under lighting. Some of the light shadows. I want that to be lit right there. I want that to be lit. Some of these edges to be lit and some to be dark. And I also want to make sure I put some foreground tree in here, something just to set it aside, to bring something to the front. Whoops, that was a little bit too much, wasn't it? That might be a happy accident. I think that's a happy accident, is what I think. Just spread that out a little bit. I just want a little hint of some red right there. And then little tiny patches of green where the green mold is making its way down the rocks. Keep this all very dark here because I wanted the contrast with the light. Make sure this is dark down here too. This is the part that has to be very gently shaded into there. Blended in. I think you can start to see it now. It's starting to look like a cave there. Those little ridges, they're just creating a series of shadows and light. I think I'll be okay to add a little bit more blue to that. Just to spread it around a little bit. Lots of little places where the light is being hidden by shadows. Little places for probably millions and millions of little critters that live in there. Make this a little bit darker, a little bit hazy, a little bit. I think that's pretty good from there. It's going to have to dry. Now this area up here, since it's slightly wet still, I think I'll add some like distant trees, because there's a series of trees. There's a lot of trees up here. So I'll just kind of create the illusion of some distant trees while the paper's still wet. Little undergrowth, but I do want to keep some light coming right there. I think that's what I want that to happen. There's some things over here. Just let the water spread it out a little bit. Let that spread. I think that light right there is going to be important too. Right there. You can't tell it yet, but once it gets dark above it, you'll start to see that light right below it. Bunch of green on there, a little bit of a darkness to it. Get that yellow in there as much as I can. a little sense of the grassy field right there. Spread it out a little bit. And it's starting to look like trees, right? A little bit. Keep this light here, right there. You know, I want to, again, I have to make this a little darker. Just needs to have that sense that you have a cliff right there, just blocking out all the light. And this big opening right here. I think a little bit of dirty water now would help. Just a little bit of dirty water in a few places. Right there could use a little bit of dirty water. Just kind of spread it up there. This can be moved around a little bit. See how that is forming almost like a shadow of a color. That's good. That'll be a nice backdrop for something more in the foreground. Again, I'm still trying to gently add some dark without messing up with the light too much. Let me get a different brush. Add a little bit of color to some of those light areas. A little bit of orange, I think, would work. Just keep it wet. Kind of spread it around a little bit. Now this area right here would be a nice place for a foreground tree, I think. Let's add a little bit of a tree right here. It's still too wet. It's a little too wet still. It's okay. That'll be the beginning of it. Look at it. Let that dry. So in the real world, it wouldn't quite look like that. I just wanted a fantasy version of Scott Springs, I think. So I give myself license to fantasize a little bit about it. But you know, the real mystery is, where does this cave lead to? Where does it go? What lives in there at night? That's what I want to know. What animal goes in there? What spelunkers have been in there? A little bit more, I think. Yes?
Morning.
Hey, Robin.
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, good. I'm gonna go get something for lunch.
Okay.
See what pretty you're doing. 2 flowers are coming up in the pot that my mom gave me last year.
Oh, wow.
Thought they were leaves, but they're 2 flowers.
I'm doing Scott Springs, sort of, kind of.
Oh, look how pretty.
Yeah, sort of.
That's really nice.
A little exaggerated, fantasized about the top part. So, so.
That's really nice. Do you want anything from the store?
No, no. Be careful, please.
I will. You want the door open or closed?
You can keep it open.
Okay.
Could add a little bit more blue down here. A little bit of a wash of blue. Some of those black dots I put in there, I thought that was going to work, but it didn't work. So I'm just going to wash them away. I thought I was going to put a foreground tree here, but I don't think I will. I think I kind of like it like that. If I put something here, it might take away from it. What do you think? A little something there? Well, I'm doing it, aren't I? A little something in the foreground, maybe. Now I'm not so happy with that. See if I can wash it away. Just make a darker area in the water, that's all. Yeah, just wash it away. It's not always possible to wash away mistakes, but it looks like it's working. Get washed up some of the stuff I did there. It actually gives a little character, doesn't it? Now that I'm washing it away. A little bit of a sense of water too. Maybe. It's funny how that worked out. You know what? I think I'll keep it just like that. I think that'll be the finished picture. Let me see what it looks like in the photograph. Sometimes you look at it on a photograph and you can see it differently. Let's see. Whoops. Yeah, I kind of like it. Kind of like it like that. You got a little bit of a hint of a foreground, even though I took it away. It's funny how a photograph will help you see it better. Of course, you're watching it on a video, so it's been a photograph the whole time. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave it like that. You know, it may not be Scott Springs exactly, but I think I'm going to keep it like that. One thing I do want to do here, I take this brush here and pull some of the stuff that's drying kind of at the edge. Just kind of soften those edges a little bit. Just spread them out with water. Yeah, I think I like that better. Maybe a little bit more definition over here. Just a few things. You know what? Maybe if I use a little bit of white from the gouache, I think I'll do that. I got some gouache over here that's left over. I don't know if you can see it. It's dried, but I can reactivate it with the water. Just get it really thick onto that brush. Or you could just relight some of these edges here with white. Maybe there's some, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get white in the water. Might be too late for that, but I could always wash it away. Let's see. That's not necessary, I don't think. Yeah, that's okay. Well, that works nice too. There's some white areas that are vertical. That's working out nice. That works. Some little white areas here too. Just a little bit. Maybe darken some of the areas back there. Just a little bit. There, what do you think? A little bit of depth, I think, to this. This dried differently than I thought it would. So this little brush I'm using, by the way, came with the Winsor and Newton paints. Yeah, this is a pretty cool place right here. I'm guessing it reminds people, it will remind people of other places that they've been to that have little caves and little cliffs and little beautiful areas to go. Let me show you the brush before I wrap it up. So there it is. See how it pulls apart. And then when you're storing it, whoops, see it? You put these back together like that. Whoops. I'll get it. And then you have a little cool little thing, and it sits right inside there somewhere, right in there in that little slot. Right now it's got paint on it, so I shouldn't close it up. But there it is. It's pretty cool, huh? I'll tell you one reason I don't like using it, though. It's a great brush. But the reason I don't like using it is because of me, not because of the brush. Because I forget sometimes, and I'll drop it into the water. And when I drop it into the water, then the little hollow part gets filled with water. And then I'll use the brush and it'll drip onto the painting. And I'll say, oh man, but it's not the brush's fault, it's my fault. Because I forget that I do things like that. Ask anybody who knows me. I'm not very organized. I actually don't know that people would say that about me. Maybe they don't even know that. Usually my disorganization happens here in this room. There we go. There we go. Looks like a nice cliffy kind of a, or cavey kind of a place. All right, now I think I'm done. I'll have to clean the brush. All right, kids. Almost an hour into it, and I think it's done. So there we go. Scott Springs, sort of, kind of. And it ends right there, really. So when I fold it, it's going to look like that. There we go. There's Scott Springs. All right. See you later. Bye.